Welcome to the first of our new webcast series. These webcasts are an extension of our weekly blog, Leading the Way, and they will feature conversations between colleagues from Bristow and Sutor and people from across our industry discussing important and interesting topics from a range of viewpoints. To kick us off, we have Helen Handzel from StepChange to talk with us about breathing space. So thanks ever so much for joining me, Helen.
Welcome, nice to be here.
Fantastic. So I thought we'd start off with just a bit of a general background on breathing space and how StepChange were involved in the campaign to get that implemented. So I don't know if you've got a bit of background you can share with us.
Yes, sure. So it's something that we're really excited that has finally come into play. We've been campaigning and working on it for a long time. The work began on it back in about, I think it was 2014. When we started campaigning with other organisations for something similar to breathing space. And then the following year, we published some research and findings on why people who were struggling in debt would benefit from extra protections from creditors. So way back 2014, 2015, the work started, and then further campaigning and lobbying. Here we are in 2021 with an actual product that has now gone live and is working to improve clients' situations. It's been a big project for us at StepChange, as I'm sure it has for many other organisations, and we've had a project team working on it for about the past year. So it's been a busy old time over the last few months.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know about you, but I feel like I've sort of lived and breathed breathing space for a little bit. It's been all anybody wants to talk about, really, which is kind of why we've picked this as the topic for our sort of inaugural webcast, if you like, because it's just everybody's thing that's on everybody's lips, really. We've been we put our project team in place. It was the first meeting I attended in this job role, actually, was a breathing space meeting. So that was back in like November time. And it's just been months of like working towards this. But do you feel that it's been received well by the industry? How do you feel people have been preparing for it? Have you had much visibility of that from your side of things?
Yes, I think across the whole industry, so with all different sectors, we've really pushed hard on the engagement to try and get different sectors on board with it and get them engaged with it. So it's been great to hear and speak to organisations from yourselves at Bristow and Sutor to financial service firms to local authorities, housing associations and the energy sector, and just see the vast amount of work that's been going on behind the scenes, because each sector is very different and has their own nuances and challenges and areas that they needed to focus on. So we've really benefited from learning more about the different sectors and the challenges that we're presenting with them and how we could work collaboratively to get the best possible processes in place for go live on the 4th of May. Yeah, I'm forgetting now my dates, but yeah.
Yeah, 4th of May, Star Wars Day.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think one of the things that I found really fascinating, so because I've been on the project group and it's a really key part of the work that I've been doing, I've been to so many different webinars and briefings and meetings, and there's been so much sort of interesting complexity, and then some things that maybe are actually simpler than people think, that's become complex because of the way people have ended up talking about it. And it's been really interesting to see different people's approaches to things. But what I have noticed is that people have been really open, especially from the creditor side of things that I've the different organisations I've looked at, with how they are going to implement this. It's been very kind of matter of fact, really, like just, all right, okay, this is what we need to do, let's just get on and do it. And that's been really positive from my side of things, that's kind of been the reaction.
Yeah, would completely agree, Helen. I think it's been it's been really interesting from 2 points I found. From a collaborative point of view, I think it's been great in bringing lots of different sectors and industries together, all working for a common aim. And also it's been the first big project of within this industry during lockdown. It's been pretty much an entirely digital project, hasn't it, where Had we been in normal circumstances, there would have been an awful lot more travelling around, face-to-face meetings, workshops, and we had no option but to bring it completely online. And I think that's been a massive success, that we have been able to do this. All organisations have been able to get this off the ground and get it running and get it implemented in very unusual circumstances.
Absolutely, and I think COVID's had such a intensifying effect on sort of our considerations of who needs support and how we can support them, that Breathing Space speaks to, really. I think COVID has really demonstrated the contingent nature of vulnerability, and that it really can be anybody. It just takes one life change, and in this case one global pandemic, to potentially really change a person's circumstances and really bring them to a place that they didn't know they were going to be financially. So I think, yeah, COVID's really kind of affected the process in so many ways, really. But like you say, I think one of the reasons that it's been successful is because it's been more possible to attend more things. Like, I've just been able to go to as many things as I've had time for, really, because I've not had to worry about travel or all that kind of thing. So maybe that's even been a beneficial thing, silver lining maybe, for the project.
I think so. Yeah, I'm sure it's helped with the collaboration, because, as you say, you could go to a couple of things in the morning, a couple of things in the afternoon, where previously you would have had to have chosen just one, probably, wouldn't you?
Yeah, exactly. So obviously it's really early days. I mean, May the 4th was so we're recording this for everybody's information about a week and a half after it launched. So it's very early days to be able to say. But what have you seen in terms of impact and take up so far? Have you had any kind of insights on what that's looked like?
It has been too early for us to say, Helen, at the minute. We were ready to launch on the 4th of May. So we had an offering for both our telephone advice process and our online advice tool, and clients were able to very seamlessly be offered this if it was an appropriate option for them. We're still waiting to get some detailed data around it so we can analyse it. But overall, we've been really pleased as to how the process has worked. We've gone down the API route, so that enables us to seamlessly pull the data from our systems into the Insolvency Service portal, and that then generates the notifications out to creditors. So from that point of view, things are working really well, and we've obviously had, the odd issue, as you always do with a new system going live, but yeah, really pleased with how it's enabled that seamless transition, and our overall advice process hasn't changed. Breathing Space has just been weaved into the advice process, and as I said, if you qualify, then you will be offered it alongside the existing process, be it online or over the phone.
Yeah, that's very much how we approached it, that it's another option. It's not an entirely new concept. It's just another way of doing a very similar thing that we already would do. Do you know what I mean? So it's been really positive for us that the rollout's been similarly pretty seamless. We've not had a great deal of concerns around it at all, because it's been building on existing processes, and I think that's been true for a lot of creditors, and I think that's really positive as well. We, as you say, it's way early to tell sort of how many people are taking it up and all that kind of thing. I'm really looking forward to seeing how that kind of develops over time, and how the impact kind of develops, and what benefit that has for people who are seeking that advice.
Absolutely, because it's, for many people in the public domain, unless you work in this sector, it's a fairly new concept, isn't it? It's a new term. It's not something they're probably familiar with. So when they come to debt advice or are suggested to speak to an advice agency by their creditor or elsewhere, that's probably the first time Breathing Space will have been mentioned in this context. So I think there will be that initial hesitancy until it gets into more common parlance and people understand exactly what it means. So yeah, I think looking back 6 months down the line maybe, and just seeing what's happened. I mean, very much our hope with Breathing Space is that it does enable more people to feel comfortable coming forward for debt advice. We very much need to position it as it runs alongside debt advice. So it's, as you alluded to, it's not an entity in itself. It's almost a means to an end and a support mechanism to help people who need that support get them into a position where they can seek advice, take that advice on board, and then look to hopefully get a debt solution put in place.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think when we were doing, so you and I obviously spoke previously about Debt Awareness Week, and you sent me a lot of very useful resources. And one of the things on there that really stuck with me was that 1 in 3 people, I believe the stat is correct, I'm sure you'll correct me if I'm wrong, but 1 in 3 people who could seek debt advice don't think they need to. And this is encouraging early intervention and getting people to the point of seeking advice earlier in the process, and I think that can only possibly be positive, really, because absolutely, if you're getting to the point where the only people who are coming forward for debt advice are in so much trouble that it's taking even more time and more difficulty to sort those things out, then encouraging people to come at an early stage when things can still be relatively simply addressed has got to be positive.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So now that Breathing Space is done, which we absolutely don't feel, but now that Breathing Space is implemented, I did just want to touch on, obviously it's part of a wider programme of interventions that's been planned, and obviously the statutory debt repayment plan is the other part that we're still expecting to come out. And we've recently had information that's been pushed back a bit further. But I just wanted to sort of ask what your hopes or what StepChange's hopes are sort of for the implementation of the statutory debt repayment plan in light of obviously the recent changes.
Yes, yeah, and it does feel as though that term has been around for a lot of years already, doesn't it? And then knowing it's going to be pushed out a little bit further, it's going to be here for a while. But overall, we're looking forward and we're eagerly awaiting a bit more detail on it, and very much hope it can be delivered within the timeframes that we've now been given, and just overall really hope that it provides a sustainable long-term footing going forward to give the client additional benefits on top of the debt solutions that are already in play, but also provide that sustainability and confidence for the long-term funding of debt advice, bearing in mind how much this could potentially change the landscape of funding going forward. So yes, I think just in general, in summary, eagerly awaiting more information on it.
Absolutely. I think it was one of those things, wasn't it, that it was kind of like not the shadow because it's something positive, but the sort of elephant in the room, I guess, when everybody was talking about Breathing Space was, oh, what will we do when? And it's kind of like, well, we'll have to wait and see, really, won't we? It's going to have to be a down the line thing rather than a right now thing. But everybody at least we've proven that we can implement StepChange. So now it shouldn't be quite so scary when the SDRP kind of rolls around.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. We've done half of it.
Yeah, exactly.
And it'll be good to get that bedded in, won't it? And have that as just normal day-to-day activity around debt advice.
Definitely. Well, it's been ever so good talking to you, Helen, and I hope that obviously we can get back together really soon and talk about the impact that the Breathing Space scheme has had on the landscape of debt advice.
Yeah, likewise, Helen. Yeah, really good to talk. And yes, it would absolutely be good. A few months down the line, let's come back and see where we are.
Fantastic. Thanks ever so much.
Thank you.